So, for my poem I love assignment, I chose the Ballad of Roosevelt, um, and I chose this beat to go along in the background, and I'll explain why later. The pot was empty and the cupboard was bare. I said, Papa, what's the matter here? I'm waiting on Roosevelt, son. Roosevelt, Roosevelt, waiting on Roosevelt, son. The rent was due and the lights was out. I said, tell me, mama, what's it all about? Just waiting on Roosevelt, son. Roosevelt, Roosevelt, just waiting on Roosevelt. Sister got sick and the doctor wouldn't come 'cause we couldn't pay him the proper sum. Waiting on Roosevelt, Roosevelt, Roosevelt. Waiting on Roosevelt. Then one day they put us out the house. Ma and Pa was meek as a mouse, still waiting on Roosevelt, Roosevelt, Roosevelt. But when they felt those cold wind blows, didn't have no place to go. Pa said, I'm tired of waiting on Roosevelt, Roosevelt, Roosevelt. Damn tired of waiting on Roosevelt. I can't get a job and I can't get no grub. Backbone and navel's doing the belly rub. Waiting on Roosevelt, Roosevelt, Roosevelt. And a lot of other folks what's hungry and cold done stop believing what they've been told by Roosevelt. Roosevelt, Roosevelt. 'Cause the pot's still empty and the cupboard's still bare, and you can't build a bungalow out of air. Mr. Roosevelt, listen, what's the matter here? So the beat that I used for that was a beat called Bird Bird in Tame by Gallo Cantu. Hot Record Society produced the whole tape, if you're interested. But, you know, beyond that, I thought it was important to have a backtrack to it because, you know, Langston Hughes composed or wrote a lot of his poetry when he was listening to music, and so I thought it would be kind of interesting to kind of get into the mindset of having to recite it to music because you know, he was probably rereading his stuff as he was going about it. And beyond that, you know, a lot of his poetry was very rhythmic. You know, had a lot of popular culture, music, techniques in it. He, you know, going line by line, you know, A, B, A, B, A, B, C. And continually repeating that, it made it fun to read. I'm a hip-hop head. I grew up listening to hip-hop, and, you know, I still listen to hip-hop to this day, and so to read a lot of his poetry was really interesting because it's funny the amount of, you know, hip-hop artists that definitely maybe not stole his style, but definitely use his type of rhyme schemes. And you know, a lot of the stuff that they talk about, he talks about in his poetry as well. You know, there's the dirty, I can't remember the name of it, but he does another poem where it reads like a hip hop song, the Death of Do Dirty, but you know, that's a whole nother thing. But it you know, he does a lot of his stuff is very musical, and it is very or would be very popular today if more people read it, because you can feel the music that's going into each line, and that might not be rare, but it's not always seen. You know, I've read things like Edgar Allan Poe and Felix Dennis, and while it also has the same kind of rhyme schemes, the A B A B, they don't necessarily, they're not necessarily musical. They just kind of flow along. Whereas Langston Hughes, there's definitely a vibe to it. You can feel, you pick up, and some of them are a little bit different than the others. Some of them are very, I would say, very Harlem. A lot of jazz, a lot of up tempo type stuff. Some of his other stuff is very bluesy, and it has a little bit of a slower tempo to it. And you can sense the sense of desperation that goes into it, and the feeling, the emotion that he really put into it. So that's really appreciated. But along with that, I was, with this poem, I found it, really familiar, because it is that feeling of hope that everybody has. You're kind of always waiting on someone to help, whoever it may be. In this instance, it was Roosevelt to help this family during the Depression. I mean, the poem was written in 1934. When Roosevelt was in his first term, so it's interesting because that was his first term, and he ended up serving 4 of them, and that, I mean, we don't even, that's a law that we don't even have, like, we put in place after him, and so now presidents can only have 2 terms, and to think about that you're waiting on a guy, and you're judging a guy on his first term in presidency. You've seen very little of him. And I think that has a lot, that can connect a lot in racism and just things in general, classism and a lot of society's problems, because we judge based instantaneously. Now, I understand that in this poem specifically, he was directing it towards a feeling, one maybe of trying to play the devil's advocate, trying to awaken maybe the black culture, black community around him, to maybe stop waiting and get up and do something, to help better themselves. But I also think that he probably was saying it because he was fed up. You get tired of being treated the same way over and over and over again. I know for myself, I grew up in the Bay Area, in Oakland and those areas, and a lot of my friends got in trouble. I myself got in trouble, and it steers you down different ways, and when those things happen, you kind of you're hoping for something. You're always hoping for something to happen, something to change. You're hoping for someone to kind of get there and do something for you. But after a while, you have to just get up and do it yourself. And I was lucky because the life that I live now is 360 or 180 different from what I was doing. Completely backwards. It took me a while to get here, but I'm here, and a lot of my friends aren't. A lot of my friends that I grew up with aren't here for various reasons, and it's tough, but that those are choices that they made, and maybe they waited too long, or maybe they weren't worried, but I got tired of waiting, and I did something. And while I definitely think that Hughes probably took back some of his sentiments towards Roosevelt the longer he was in office, or I would hope so. And he seemed like a good guy. So was Langston Hughes. But I think beyond that, this is just showing a pent up frustration that he had to get out. But yeah, so The song I used was produced by Hot Record Society, called Galucantu, if you're interested. But yeah, thanks.